Hello guys, welcome back to the channel for the second news roundup for June. Plenty to go over in these past 2 weeks, so let's go over the Falcom news first. There's some interesting stuff to go over there, starting on the merchandise side. So there's going to be some watches from a company called Anime Luxury Collection. For Sky First Chapter, there's going to be one for the Arcee, 25,000 yen, and there's going to be one for the 60th anniversary of Queen Alicia's reign. Of course, Queen Alicia is the fictional monarch in La Belle for Sky First Chapter. The 60th anniversary of her reign is a big event in that game, and that's 55,000 yen, so that's quite a lot of money to say the least. These guys also do one for Ouroboros and Cold Steel as well. These watches are pretty cool. Like, I've done one for Super Groupies before for an Altina watch or an Altina themed watch, and it was good. I was happy that I spent the money on it, but obviously it is quite a pretty penny to actually spend money on something like this that you'll probably never wear anyway, but yeah, there they are if you want them. Next up is the Moderoid kits. So the Moderoids now have their 4th entry for the Divine Knights from the Cold Steel series. So we've had Valimar, we've had Ordine, we've had Argrayan, and now we've got Testarossa. I'm surprised that we got Testarossa next. I was expecting something like Ishmelga next, or El Prado. You know, that's pretty cool. I mean, these Moderoid kits are great. So Moderoid kits are basically like as they sound. You know, they come in parts and you've got to put them together yourself. If you're into this kind of stuff, if you're into, you know, Warhammer or model creating or painting or anything like that, these could be a good item to have. They're really cool items, to be honest. I did one for Valimar quite a while back. I've got my Ordine one as well. Just don't have the space to put it anywhere. So they're not too expensive. You can pose them however you want. If you like the Divine Knights, really good item to have. You know, they just look really cool, to be honest, so great item. I don't think they announced when it's going to go up for pre-order or how much it's going to be. They've only just announced it, so to speak, so that's something to keep an eye on. Next up are the pre-orders for a new scale figure. So we saw prototypes for this. It is another Kotobukiya figure of Shizuna this time, 23,000 yen, releasing in December 2025. I like Shizuna, not to the level that I would order a figure of her, to be honest. That's just me personally. I know that Shizuna has a lot of fans. Like I say, I'm a fan of her, not a mega fan of her. So that means there's more figures for other people to buy if they really want to. But another thing with this figure, I don't know if it's just me, but there's something about the face that I'm not really too... it just looks a little bit weird to me. I have no doubt this is probably going to do pretty well. Next up is the Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana novel by Anna Kashina. Around about 2 months ago, they announced that they were going to, well, Dragonwell Publishing and eastbooks.com, they announced that they were going to basically be expanding the novel. They were going to be doing the Castaway Tales, which was basically stories or short stories based around the side quests of Ys 8, and they were also going to do the Castaway Cookbook as well. But Ys Novels also has a YouTube channel, and what they're doing is they're taking the Castaway Cookbook and they're getting the voice actors involved, the voice actors from the game, and they're basically getting them to do short videos of the recipes within the book. So initially they brought in Sean Chiplock, who voiced Hummel in Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana, and they've got him to basically do this, to do a narration of like this herb chicken or something like that, and I imagine they're going to be doing a lot more in the future as well, so I'd be keeping an eye on that. Link to their YouTube channel is in the description. It's interesting to say the least, and at the end of the day, you know, you get to hear your favourite voice actors again, speaking in food terms, I guess, but yeah, cool, really cool. And finally, for the Falcom merchandise, we can't go anywhere without at least highlighting the pre-orders for Sky First Chapter, which was an absolute mess. The signs were there, okay? The signs were definitely there. I mean, limited run games have a reputation anyway for not doing very well with this kind of stuff. They already messed up Lunar Remastered, and I fully expected there was going to be some sort of issue here. So there was limited run games for the American side, and there was Clear River Games for the European branch, and they're basically partnered anyway. They're both part of the same umbrella, so they're basically one and the same as far as I'm concerned. But the issues were already rearing their head before the pre-orders went up. So limited run games, when you went onto their website, you saw that there was only 1,500 units available for this game, and what made it worse is that those 1,500 units, those orders, were not limited to one per customer. Extremely limited, not limited to one per customer. Add those two together and you have a scalper's paradise. You know, 1,500 units didn't sound like much at all, and sure enough, when it went up, it was gone in like, I think 20 minutes. People had problems when they were trying to check out, they couldn't finalise their order, and then weirdly enough, they shut down the pre-orders and then put up another wave, like a second wave or something like that. And then in that one, they limited it to 1 per customer. I have a feeling they realised they made a mistake, and there you go. That went from there. But they sold out very quickly on the limited run game side. I just hope that most of them got into the hands of fans of the series and not scalpers. I mean, some of them inevitably went onto reselling sites like eBay and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, unfortunately that's just the way it is. And now Clear River Games, now this is the situation that I had to deal with, because I'm obviously from the UK, so I have to deal with the European branch. Clear River Games had apparently less stock than limited run games for both the Steelbook and the limited edition. If I wanted a steelbook, I had to use Clear River Games. No other retailer offered a steelbook. So unfortunately, well, this is the situation. I had to use them. So I waited for the countdown to end. I ordered my steelbook and I had no problems, or at least I thought I had no problems. So ordered it, got the confirmation email, good. Everything's sorted. It is worth noting that those who tried to order the limited edition had some sort of issue when they went to their basket. When they added the limited edition, it also added the steelbook as well, which, you know, the limited edition already had the steelbook, so it didn't really matter. So that was a little bit of a problem. They fixed that quite quickly, to their credit, Clear River Games. But yeah, for me, I only wanted the steelbook because I had other limited editions coming anyway. So I was happy. Got the confirmation email, went to sleep. Cool. I wake up the next morning and I've got like 4 messages from friends of mine saying, yo, did you see this? And sure enough, I look at my emails and I see that at 11:30 in the evening, UK time that is, my order was cancelled. Because apparently my pre-order went into the wrong back-end system and they cancelled it in the middle of the night. Luckily, I was able to get up and get another one, and they're still in stock even now. Put it this way, I wouldn't be smiling right now if it got cancelled and I missed out on it completely. What a way to punish someone who wanted to get their order in early. What a way to punish someone like that, because about 10 minutes later, this issue of putting the pre-order into the wrong back-end system was fixed. You know, it's one thing to cancel a pre-order, and by the sound of it, it sounds like an admin issue. Surely you can just take it from one back-end system and manually move it over to the other one. Contact the person and try and figure out a solution. Like, that seems better to me, unless there's some sort of financial side of it that needs to be considered, some sort of, you know, financial reporting side of it that needs to be considered. I don't know. But it seems like a simple admin issue to just move it from one side to the other. But to do it at 11:30 in the evening, and bear in mind, that's UK time. France is 1 hour ahead of the UK. Poland is 2 hours ahead of the UK, I believe. Is it 2 hours or 3 hours? I don't know, but they're ahead of the UK. So this email of a cancellation went up in the early hours of the morning for most of Europe. So what happens to those people if they miss out on it completely because of Clear River Games' error? This is no fault of the person buying it. This is the fault of Clear River Games. And then these people could have missed out completely and been punished for it. Come on, guys. Come on. You know, you got to do better than that. I wasn't impressed, to say the least. I put it on blast on X too. I wasn't impressed. And Clear River Games basically said, yeah, you know, we made a mistake, blah, blah, blah. Look, you made a mistake and it all ended happily, fair enough. But what if it didn't? You know, if Sky's second chapter comes out, or Sky the Third as well as a remake, and they get it as well, I hope they learn from that mistake. It is what it is. It ends happily. That's the situation. But absolute shambles, to say the least. I hope they improve on it in the future. Okay, on to the Falcom developer news now. Now, the first port of call is Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus, the Switch 2 version, because Axis state that they are working with Falcom in order to release a Switch 2 compatibility update for the Switch version, which will have the updated localization from that Nintendo Switch version as well, which could be brought over to the PS4 and Steam versions too. Yeah, that's good. You know, if Axis can make that happen, great. And it will be on better hardware as well. Switch 2 is obviously more powerful than the base Switch. Makes sense. Now, the rest of the stuff is going to be on Sky First Chapter. There's some interesting stuff in regards to DLC. So they've got this thing called Launch Celebration DLC, which, for those who order the limited edition or the Steelbook, it's going to be available to them forever, apparently. But for those who order the standard edition of the game, it will be available to them for free for 1 month, and then it will just be gone after that, apparently. I think you can probably buy it again or something like that. But yeah, it's interesting. You know, you get it for free for 1 month. You know, I imagine you probably have to buy it again after that. I guess a lot of people probably would have finished the game within a month, but it is interesting to say the least. That's probably why they've got the season pass as well for the game. But we got a little bit of a showcase of one of these DLC outfits, which is the Neo Bracer outfit. So Estelle wearing a Neo Bracer outfit. They showed a bit of gameplay of that. Looks great as always. I'm really looking forward to the game in terms of its gameplay. I know some people aren't too big on the hybrid style, but I am. I love it. Seeing the transitions from action to turn-based, it just looks so smooth to me, man. Looks so smooth, looks so great to me. So yeah, really looking forward to it. It's just getting me more and more hyped for it. There was a little bit of an issue though in regards to the voiceovers. So before the game was even announced for the West, it was stated that the voiceovers for the English version was going to have both the Japanese and English dub. Gung Ho then put up an article stating that it was only going to have English dub. So people were like, wait, hold on a second, that's not what you said. They changed it very quickly though, no. The final port of call was that it is going to have Japanese and English dub, as was stated when it first was announced all those months ago, so that's good. And another thing to consider as well, and this is probably the most important thing for me, is that they are now changing the character synopsis on the website, or the dedicated Trails in the Sky First Chapter website. So Cassius has now been changed from Sword Saint to Divine Blade, and Shera has now been changed from Silver Flash to Silver Streak, which is good. The most important thing for a translation like this, especially one right at the very beginning, is that we have consistency. You know, whatever you may think about the translation, the terminology we have now is the terminology we've had for 12 games and is the terminology that should stay until the end of the series. You can't go from Sword Saint Cassius Bright in Sky First Chapter and then go to Sky Second Chapter and see Divine Blade Cassius Bright. It's like, wait, what? What's going on here? You know, it seems minor, but no. A series that is all about its world building, you need to have consistent terminology from point to point. So that's something that they are changing by the look of it. It's something they're addressing. Apparently, Esmeralda's Tower is still Jade Tower. This was when I first made the post, at least, or when I first noticed it. But this at least indicates to me that they're changing this stuff. So maybe come the final release, that will be changed as well. Who knows? But this is just a good sign to me. I'm glad that they are changing that. And another good thing that I'm happy about, is the orbments. The orbment system. It looks like the orbment system is going to be similar as it was to the original Sky FC, which is the idea of taking the orbments and you have like the elemental values of each of the quartz, and then you put them into lines, and then certain combinations are going to get you certain arts. I liked that customization approach for the orbment setups, and it looks like they're going to be doing it for Sky First Chapter as well, which is great. Aces. Very, very good. And last of all, they've been doing introduction trailers for all the different characters and different locations. They did one for both, and they have stated once again that we knew there was going to be added content for Sky First Chapter, but there's going to be new quests on the way, which is part of that added content. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what those new quests are, what their new additions are going to be to the game, because the whole idea of this additional content is to tie into continuity for the future of the series as well. You know, when they see a character in Sky First Chapter, they'll see him in a future one and they'll go, oh, okay, yeah, well, I know who this person is now. It seems like they're giving more of a highlight to those characters going forward, which is only a good thing for me. As long as they don't cause inconsistency like with that terminology we talked about, that's all that matters to me. So, very good. Very, very good. So, everything's looking good for Sky First Chapter so far. I am very much looking forward to it. Outside of that little hiccup with the pre-orders, as long as the game comes out well, all will be forgiven. Maybe. Maybe. Okay, moving over to the merchandise now. So a couple of scale figures. RGG Studio, so Like a Dragon. They've got a 1/6 scale of Goro Majima that's coming from Kotobukiya. So the Mad Dog of Shimano is coming out in January 2026 for 26,000 yen. I like Goro. Not enough to buy a figure of him. To be honest, I don't think I'd buy any figures on Like a Dragon because it's just not really my thing, but hey, there you go. For Metaphor Refantasio, so this is Atlas now, a 1/7 scale of Hulkenberg. Once again, this is Kotobukiya. 21,000 yen, again releases in January 2026. Cool. They've already done one for Gallica. They're doing one for Juna as well, I believe. And this one here for Hulkenberg you can pre-order now on the likes of Army. And then finally Gust. Of course Gust are involved with scale figures, and it's a Yumiya figure from Wonderful Works. It's a 1/7 scale, 21,500 yen, releasing April 2026. Wonderful Works have done a lot of Atelier figures. They did one for all of the Riser games, so a Riser depiction based on a sprite art from each of the Riser games. I actually bought the second one from the one from Riser 2 because I quite like the pose of it, and I really like the game Riser 2. It's one of my favourite games in the series, so it made sense. Yumiya, you know, the newest Atelier Pro tag, they were in no doubt going to be doing a few for her, and here we go. So they've done one already based on her sprite art from Atelier Yumiya. Now they're doing this one, which was one of the pre-order bonuses, one of the retailer bonuses in Japan, and I believe there are 2 others in the pipeline as well. Both swimsuit figures as well, so of course they are. I'm not sure if Wonderful Works are the manufacturers for those ones, but they're doing this one. And if I'm being honest, it looks good. It does look very good. Like, it's like they've literally taken the image and replicated it perfectly. You remember what I said about the Shizuna figure earlier, where I had a little of an issue with the face? I have no issue with this one. Quite cheap as well, like 21,500 yen. Yes, it is quite a lot of money. Like in GBP, that translates to around about £115, which is a lot of money. But Wonderful Works, normally they charge about £150 for their figures, for their scale figures, because they are pretty good quality for the most part. I was surprised to see the price of it. That seems quite cheap for something like this. So, yeah, you know, if you like Yumiya, there you go. You got that one, and there's 2 others on the way as well, and the one based on her sprite art as well, if you really want that one too. Okay, we end the merch roundup with Square. There's some adorable arts figures of Vivi and Zidane, so they're 7,500 yen each. They're releasing November the 22nd. This once again, is part of the Final Fantasy IX anniversary event. Makes sense that you want to commemorate it, especially for a big anniversary like this. 7,500 yen, which is about 30 quid. It's not bad. It's not bad for something like this. They're quite small though. I do know the adorable arts figures are quite small, but hey, if you like Final Fantasy IX, that could be something to add to your collection right there. This next thing is not cheap. Magic the Gathering x Final Fantasy, so the Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy collab. I wanted to get involved with this because I like Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is basically the grandfather of collectible trading card games. I know there's a Final Fantasy trading card game, but it's just not the same. It's not the same level of prestige. The collector's boxes sold out, like, before the pre-orders even went up. They were gone, and sure enough, a lot of them went into the hands of scalpers, who put them back on eBay. The initial retail price for these, I think, was about £400, which is quite a lot of money, don't get me wrong. They're now up on eBay for 1,000. And sadly, I think some people will buy them, because they're quite sought after. I mean, I knew this was going to happen, because it's Final Fantasy. It's Final Fantasy, it was always going to be a big event. It is what it is. I'm not paying £1,000 for a booster box, no chance. If I wanted one pack, I'd have to pay £80. Forget it, no chance. Even the play booster boxes, the ones that are literally designed to be played with, you know, 30 card booster boxes, which normally retail for about £120, they have doubled in MSRP. They've gone up to £250, and you can't find them anywhere. So, normally those ones do have a second run though. They do have a second run, and I hope there's a second run. I think if the price of the play booster boxes went down to about 150, I probably would buy one. Just for the feeling of opening a booster box, like I say, seeing the art, because a lot of this art has been done by some of the more well-known artists of Final Fantasy as well. Just the feeling of opening up something like that would be really cool, but at the moment there's been no news of a play reprint. The collector's ones will never be reprinted. They are always intended as something that just go out as a very limited run, one run, and that's it. Gone forever. So that will never happen, unfortunately. But as for the play booster boxes, maybe they will get the second print run and I'll jump in there. But yeah, it is what it is. This is the situation. It is Final Fantasy. It was always going to be popular, and sure enough, they were gone pretty much immediately. That is the situation. So yeah, you win some, you lose some. There it is. Okay then, let's move over to the developer updates, and we'll be starting with Square, as always. So a lot of this initially concerns Final Fantasy Tactics: The Evilist Chronicles, which of course is going to be releasing later on in the year. Genki, who is a ex-account, he basically summarised all of the changes that are going to be made, all the big changes, or big features that are going to be in this re-release. So let's bring this up right now. Enhanced version for modern platforms. It's based on the original Final Fantasy Tactics. It's going to have a brand new UI. There's no War of the Lions game content, no new submissions or new characters. It uses the original music. It's going to have new added conversations written by the OG director, script edited and rewritten by the OG writer, fully voiced in English and Japanese. The classic OG version is also included. There's going to be 3 difficulty options: casual, standard, tactical. You can change it at any time. You've got quality of life enhancements like autosave and fast forward, as you probably expect in this day and age, and some companions like Cloud you can get much earlier in the game, coming September the 30th, 2025. The big part of this here that raised a few eyebrows for people was that there's going to be no War of the Lions content. Now, for me personally, I don't know what that entails, because I've never played Final Fantasy Tactics, so I can't really put my hat in the ring here. I know that friends of mine who have played Final Fantasy Tactics, who are also content creators, were disappointed in this revelation though. My knowledge of War of the Lions basically goes to this. It's an enhanced re-release on the PSP, it had a new translation, it had additional gameplay elements and new jobs and missions, and some newly animated cutscenes as well. I don't think it's going to affect my enjoyment. I mean, at the end of the day, everything I see in Final Fantasy Tactics is going to be completely new to me personally, so it's not going to affect my enjoyment, but I can sympathise with the people who have played the original, who have played the War of the Lions version as well on the PSP. I understand where they're coming from, you know, that's what they've decided to go with. But there was also further clarification on the scripts that are going to be used. This was said by Yasumi Matsuno himself, who is the OG director. He has clarified that for the classic version, the Japanese version is going to use the original release script, whereas the English version is going to use the War of the Lions script, and the enhanced version is going to have a completely new script for or a new version modified for remastering for the Japanese version and the English version. So he's confirmed that as well. And then last of all, there was a potential nod to a sequel for Final Fantasy Tactics. So he said, while we cannot make any promises about the future, if this title is successful, it will not only demonstrate that there's interest from gamers, but also the viability of tactical games as a business. Such success will surely pave the way for the release of new tactics titles that follow the Evilist Chronicles. Makes sense. If it's financially successful, then you go where the money is. I don't think that's unheard of, so I hope the game does well, and I hope more tactics come out. I mean, at the end of the day, like I say, I don't really have the history with Final Fantasy Tactics. I've never played it before. All I know is that it has a legacy of its own. A lot of people love it, and I have a feeling I'm going to love it too. So this is good. But we're not done with Square, because at a recent shareholder meeting, they acknowledged the success of a certain French RPG called Clair Obscur Expedition 33. One of the investors basically said in this meeting, look, I want the next Dragon Quest game and the next Final Fantasy game to be turn-based. So Square Enix said they are aware of Expedition 33 and believe that command-based RPGs are the origin of Square Enix. They value the genre of command-based RPGs and plan to continue delivering such games in the future. Now, whether they follow through on that is another story. Dragon Quest XII, as for me, what I think, Dragon Quest XII, if that's not turn-based, that will be a shock. Pretty much every mainline entry in Dragon Quest, so that's not including stuff like builders or monsters or anything like that. I'm talking about the mainline entries, with the exception of Dragon Quest X, which was the MMO, I guess. Most of them are turn-based, standard turn-based approaches. I expect Dragon Quest XII will be the same, because that's just Dragon Quest, that's what Dragon Quest is. Final Fantasy is a little bit different, because obviously we haven't had a traditional turn-based game in Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy X? 11 was the MMO, 12 was the Gambit system, 13 was whatever, 14's the MMO, 15 more action style, and 16 action based. So yeah, Final Fantasy X was the last time we had a traditional turn-based system from Final Fantasy. My one worry though is that it's one thing to acknowledge a game like Expedition 33, which is undoubtedly brilliant. Undoubtedly brilliant. It's one thing to acknowledge it. What I'm worried about though is that if Final Fantasy XVII is turn-based, and they take Expedition 33 as inspiration for it, will they look at Expedition 33 and think to themselves, right, people want turn-based combat, but they also want action elements in them as well, like parry systems and dodge systems. Look, I love the turn-based style of Clair Obscur. I love its turn-based style, I love the action elements, the parry and the dodge mechanics. It works for Clair Obscur Expedition 33 because the game is simply tailored around it. My worry is that if Square Enix try to imitate Clair Obscur's battle system, will it come out as good? Probably not. Clair Obscur's battle system came out so well because they knew exactly what they wanted to do with it. I'm not so sure if Square Enix could replicate that. That's me personally. I can bet, though, that if Final Fantasy XVII reverted to a turn-based style, it would be the most successful game they've had since Final Fantasy X. I'm not including the MMO in that, Final Fantasy XIV, which is the most successful game in the franchise. But in terms of single-player games, it will be one of the most successful games. It will be huge. The hype alone will sell millions of copies. You know, AAA, turn-based RPG, Final Fantasy, that's a match made in heaven. People will buy it. I personally don't have an affinity to turn-based combat, I don't have an affinity to action-based, I don't really care. As long as the gameplay's fun, that's all I really care about. I've no doubt it would succeed if they ever decide to do that. I just hope that they don't look at Expedition 33 and go, people want action elements. Like, action elements can work. Make it a standard turn-based affair, people will buy it. You know, quite simply. So, yeah, it's good. It's good to know that they acknowledge it. I mean, you cannot not notice Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and the success it had. You can't. Especially if you are a turn-based RPG developer, or an RPG developer. You can't, okay? You have to acknowledge that Clair Obscur was a success and go, right, okay, maybe that's what people want. So, yeah, we'll see if they follow through on that or not. Okay, over to Tokyo Games, Kodaka for 100 Line Last Defense Academy. So he said that a more challenging mode for the strategic combat of 100 Line Last Defense Academy. Whatever, I guess. I like the combat of 100 Line Last Defense Academy, but there's no doubt that it's more about the story in that game. It always was going to be more about the story. So, I mean, most of the time for me, I'm just skipping the battles now to get back to the story. But, you know, it's a big game. So, you know, maybe some people do want to get a little bit more out of that gameplay, who knows. Bandai Namco next. A demo is now out for Freedom Wars Remastered. I still haven't got to Freedom Wars Remastered. It was on my most anticipated list, but I just haven't had time to get around to it, but maybe in the future. And a Tales of fan. This person is called UV. They basically put up a YouTube video as well, have recovered a lost RPG called Tales of Tactics. So it was a Japanese mobile game. It was the first of their mobile sub-series, of the Tales of mobile sub-series, and you could basically recruit characters throughout the series, like from Symphonia and Destiny and all that kind of stuff, and you use them to fight against this black army or something like that. But, you know, a very niche title there, archived for the future if anyone wants to do a project on it. That's really good, so good on that person for doing so. Level 5 next, Fantasy Life I. It sold about 800,000 units last time we did this. It's now sold 1 million. We said it was going to be selling 1 million. Sure enough, it has. Good for them. Good for Level 5. That's only a good sign, and hopefully they can keep getting big hits like Fantasy Life I. Shift up next with Stellar Blade, and Stellar Blade, the PC port, hits 99,000 concurrent players this month. Overwhelmingly positive as well. People praised the port of Stellar Blade, which doesn't surprise me because South Korea are very good with PC ports. They've got a massive esports scene out there. They've, you know, in terms of PC gaming, they're massive and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't surprise me that South Korean developers made a great PC port. Again, I still haven't played this one yet either, but it's on my list. It's on my list. I will be playing it soon, I'm sure. Great to see. I'm glad to see that Stellar Blade is doing so well on the PC port as well. Obviously, PS5 exclusive first, came to PC, and it's doing very well. So great to see. Sega next. Now this all comes from the Sega Sammy 2025 management presentation. So first of all, Metaphor ReFantasio eclipsed 2 million units sold, which is good to see. I believe it sold 1 million in like its first week, so obviously it slowed down a bit, it makes sense, but 2 million, very good going for what is basically a new IP. But also, there was a little bit of a mistake with the presentation. So the PDF was made available for the presentation, the PowerPoint slides. There was like a block which covered all of the sales for the other franchises, but if you simply just highlighted it, you could actually see the sales. So accidentally, we can now see the sales of games like Persona 5 Royal and Like a Dragon and all this kind of stuff. So the most notable ones: Persona 5 Royal, 7.25 million units to date. Like a Dragon, 2.86 million. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, 2.11 million. Persona 3 Reload, 2.07 million. Infinite Wealth got 1.66. Probably the most surprising thing here to me is that Vengeance, that's including the original as well. So the original and Vengeance. That Vengeance has sold more than Persona 3 Reload, a little bit more. But it makes sense, I guess, because Persona 3 Reload has been out for a lot less time than SMT5 Vengeance when you include the original that came out in 2021, so it kind of made sense. I have a feeling that Reload will probably overtake Vengeance eventually. But overall, great sales numbers. Sega did make it clear that Atlus were one of their leading flagships, as were RGG Studio. They wanted to expand them as well and, you know, up the resource for both of them in the future to solidify or consolidate those profits. So this is only good. Even if it was an accident, it's a happy accident, I guess. So yeah, there you go. Okay, we're moving over to Gust now. And Gust, this was very interesting, to be honest, because this was an article by Automaton, and they stated that Gust, at the moment, are torn on how they want to appeal to their Japanese and Western fan bases. Now, this is interesting because Atelier Yumiya was obviously the attempt to appeal to a global audience. But they also have another game coming out this year which is going to go down the more traditional route. Now, if it's my personal opinion on this, people who are fans of JRPGs love them because they are JRPGs. They have unique characteristics about them that appeal to that kind of player base. The traditional leveling, the linear story, the over-the-top animations, so often the anime style, the music, all this kind of stuff. It comes together to make a JRPG or a JRPG style that people love. So for me personally, I don't want Gust to appeal to a global audience. And I say that as well because they've tried to do it before on the PS2 with Atelier Iris and Manakemia. Now, irrespective of what you may think about those games, because Manakemia, I think the two Manakemia games will do really well in this day and age, and I think the second Iris game is really good too. The first one is okay, and the third one is not good as far as I'm concerned, but you got 3 good games there. But the point is that they tried to shift away from what made Atelier. They shifted away from the crafting focus, and they basically did so because they wanted to appeal to this global audience, which nearly ended the series altogether. And this is the thing, Atelier, even within JRPGs, is, you know, in a subset of its own. It's all about its crafting, it's more light-hearted than your traditional JRPG. Like, I want them to stick to the traditional approach of what makes Atelier, okay? The crafting focus, the light-hearted nature, less focus on the story, more focus on the characters. That's just what makes Atelier the franchise that it is, and people are fans of it. I think they have already shown that they can make a really good modern Atelier game. Ryza, they hit the jackpot with Ryza, sure. The design of Ryza helped in that, but it's still a great game. But for me, they achieved the perfect balance of what a modern Atelier game is with Atelier Sophie 2. That is still the best game in the series, and I have a feeling it's going to be there for a very long time. Like, every now and then, the stars align for Gust. They make great games, no doubt about that, but every now and then the stars align and they just make a perfect game, the optimum game. And for me, that's Atelier Sophie 2. And then they kind of veer away into something else. Ryza 3... they started to veer away with that game, with the open world feel, and now they've veered even further away with Atelier Yumiya, which yes, still has the crafting focus, but not as much. It's not the only focus. You had the open world, you had the building and all this kind of stuff. If someone came to me and they wanted to get into the Atelier series, if I recommended Atelier Yumiya to them, do I think it would get them into the series? I don't think so. Because they'd go back to something like Ayasha or Rorona and be like, where's the open world? Where's the building? Like I say, I like Yumiya. I think Yumiya is a great game, but is it a great Atelier game? Not so sure. I just hope that they stick more to that traditional layout, and again, that's going to be coming up in the upcoming RPG section, because there is a game which is intended to be more along the lines of a traditional Atelier game, so we'll go over that soon. But anyway, moving on. A game that we haven't seen in the West now has a fan translation. 8 years later, it is Seal No Surge. It was delayed from November. It was meant to come out in November, got pushed on to this month, and it works completely on the emulator Vita 3K as well. So Seal No Surge, obviously made by Gust, part of the Exapico universe, so that includes the 3 Art and Alico games, and then Seal No Surge and Arno Surge. Funnily enough, Arno Surge did come west. Arno Surge came west, Seal No Surge didn't. People who played Arno Surge were playing without a lot of knowledge of that first game. I mean, I haven't played the first game, but I have kind of read a synopsis of Seal No Surge. There's a lot of stuff in Seal No Surge which carries over to Arno Surge, and it looks like Koei Tecmo have no intention of moving it over. I think Gust would probably want to do it, but at the end of the day, Koei Tecmo have the final say on whether it gets greenlit or not. And that's just the situation. But this is why fan translations are so important. You know, to go out of their way to make this, to make a full working English patch for the game, really, really cool. Now, unfortunately, I probably won't be able to play it because not only do I not own the game, I do not own a Vita as well because I'd have to dump it in order to apply the patch. I don't own either of them, and I'd have to put about £130 into doing so. £130 for one game, as much as I want to play it, can't really do it. You know, maybe in the future that's something that I could do, but yeah. I'm glad that the fan translation is there at the very least. It allows some people to play the game for the first time. It's only a good thing, so really, really good. Yes, this next one isn't so good. It is a Kickstarter campaign, or it was a Kickstarter campaign. I'm sure a few people know about this one. Studio Carmelia, the developers of Alzara Radiant Echoes, have shut down, or basically are in the process of shutting down, which basically means that Alzara Radiant Echoes is likely going to be shelved indefinitely and never going to be released. For those who are unaware, Alzara Radiant Echoes, or Studio Carmelia, put up a Kickstarter campaign for the game. They wanted €100,000. They got €300,000. So it was a success. But obviously, now we've come to June 2025 and it's completely shut down. And the reason they gave is because they couldn't find a publisher to secure the rest of the funding. Now, this idea of not being able to find the publisher is not unbelievable, because there are two other notable games that were also funded on Kickstarter that are struggling to find that publisher. That's the spiritual successor to Wild Arms in Armed Fantasia, and the spiritual successor to Shadow Hearts in Penny Blood. Both of them are struggling to find a publisher. I think Armed Fantasia is faring a little bit better, but Penny Blood is struggling. Armed Fantasia is also struggling as well. And I don't think we've had any further updates about that. So, you know, this issue of finding a publisher in the more risk-averse environments as well is not unheard of. It's not unbelievable. But, of course, people will question if there's any sort of nefarious intent with this. Was it a scam? You know, did they take the money and run? I'm not so sure. I mean, part of me wants to believe in the good of Studio Carmelia and say it's not a scam. But on the other side of it, I'm going to try to be as balanced as I can here. On the other side of it, they did not help themselves. They needed to be way more transparent with where the money was going, and they didn't manage it very well at all either. At the bare minimum, like when it comes to a Kickstarter project, okay, the bare minimum for me is that you update your backers once a month. Even if there's nothing to update, just to keep people in the loop as to what's actually happening with the project, yeah? I think that's not too much to ask. Keeping them in the dark is just a no-go, and that's pretty much what Studio Carmelia did. Before the final message to state that Studio Carmelia was shutting down, they hadn't said anything since February on Kickstarter. 4 months of radio silence. Now on the Facebook group, the last message they had was in April. When I checked it was April. They might have deleted some messages since that point, but on Facebook they had messages up till April. Now bear that month April in mind, okay, because we're going to revisit that soon. But reading the final message, there were a few points there that I want to highlight because they do seem a bit hazy. My first point is that according to Studio Carmelia, they had secured half of the funding before the Kickstarter had even begun. So that's from their own pocket, and from venture capitalist firms and business angels. They had secured half of that funding before the Kickstarter had even begun. Now they stated that the idea was to get the final half of the funds from a publisher or a publishing partner. The Kickstarter was designed as a way to show these publishing partners that there was support for a niche RPG title like this, but also so that they could make a playable demo to show to the publishing partners and thereby, hopefully, get the green light. That's what they said the money was going to be for. The problem, though, is that when the Kickstarter began, nowhere did they mention the money was going to be used for a demo. I can harbour a guess as to why they never mentioned it was going towards a demo, because let's be real, if they did, they wouldn't be getting €300,000. They'd be probably getting about half that if they're lucky. I think they were banking everything on getting that publisher, taking the demo to them, getting that funding, and then when the game came out, they would come clean on everything. They would say, look, we had struggles at this point. We needed to make a demo. That's why we went to Kickstarter, blah, 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 blah. And they would become fully transparent by that point. Because at that point, no one would care. The game was out. Everyone's happy. Players are happy. Developers are happy. Publishers are happy. It didn't work out in this case, though. You know, at the end of the day, that money went to a demo, which, well, supposedly went to a demo that didn't catch the imagination of a publisher. But this is the other thing that I find a little bit strange. If they had secured half of the funding already for the game, surely you can make a playable demo. I mean, it doesn't need to be long, it only needs to be like about an hour at most. Just to give a publisher an idea of what the game's going to be like and be like, okay, yeah, I see promise in this, you can have the rest of the funding. Obviously, I've embellished a little bit there, I've made it sound more simple than it really is, but surely that's all. You had the funds there to make a demo already. Yeah, a bit strange, to say the least, in that regard. The most damning part, though, came in regards to this part right here. So it said that the studio went into liquidation in April. Now remember, on Facebook, their last message was in April. But apparently on their Discord, now I say apparently because I wasn't on their Discord or anything like that. This is coming from people who were on the Discord, who saw the updates and all this kind of stuff. Those people were saying that Studio Camellia was still making updates days before the final message went out that the project was shutting down completely. They were still saying stuff like, oh, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, blah, 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 blah. And they were still processing late pledges, donating to the success of the game. That is the part where people will look at and they'll think to themselves, wait, if they were in liquidation, why are they still taking money? Again, I'll admit, it doesn't look good. But, again, I want to believe in the good of Studio Camellia here, because I can relate to this idea of wanting something to succeed so much that you start making dumb decisions. I think this is what Studio Camellia did. They wanted this game to succeed so badly, they started to make bad decisions like this. Now, is there excuses for that? I don't think so. I think, though, that they didn't want to panic the backers. I didn't think they wanted to panic the backers by saying they were in trouble, which, to be honest, would have been better for them to say. They should have been transparent about this. But they probably wanted to keep it going for as long as they could until they just had to accept that, hey, it's not going to work, we're going to have to pull the plug. I think they have managed it poorly. They made bad decisions. Part of me, though, wants to believe that it was not a scam. As for the refunds, because people, you know, obviously, you know, who backed it wanted their money back. I know some people are going to be mad at me for saying this, but why would you expect a refund in this case? If the idea is that Kickstarter money went towards a project which has now failed, the project failed because there is no money. And if there is no money, then how can they refund anyone? This is why I personally do not back Kickstarter campaigns, because if I ever did, I would do so with the knowledge that there's a good chance that money would never see a return. There's a literal clause on Kickstarter which says pretty much just this. Like, I'm paraphrasing it here, but it pretty much says something along the lines of, any backing pledge or any pledge you put on Kickstarter does not guarantee a finished product. It's basically an investment or a gamble. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But that is why the incentives exist, because the backers are taking on a financial risk by doing this, so they need the incentive, the reward for taking on that risk. Risk and reward, you know, concept as old as time. So no, I mean, in terms of the money being paid back, I mean, it makes no sense to me, because if in theory it's all been spent on the project, then there's no money left to pay back. You know, that's just the situation. But, you know, I can understand why people would be annoyed, but that's just the way it crumbles sometimes. Now, am I saying that Kickstarter never has scams? No chance. There have been plenty of scams on Kickstarter. I just don't think this is one of them. I have seen scams on Kickstarter, and this just doesn't seem like one. I think they were just completely misguided. They poorly managed it. They didn't communicate as much as they should have done, and they made stupid decisions simply because they wanted it to succeed so badly. That's what I personally think. But, you know, I can appreciate why people felt there was malicious intent here, especially in regards to the idea that the company was already in liquidation come April. They were still taking those pledges, but, you know, you have to make your own decision on that. That's my personal thought on it, but Alzara Radiant Echoes, likely shelved indefinitely, likely not going to be released, and Studio Camellia is gone. Okay, upcoming releases now, and we'll go for the delays first, and there's two big ones here. You could probably say these aren't really delays, it's more just acknowledging that they're going to be coming out much later than some people would think. So RGG Studio, Stranger Than Heaven, Persona 4 Revival, both of them are going to be coming out after the 1st of April 2026, and they might even slip into early 2027. Persona 4 Revival doesn't surprise me. After seeing that trailer at the Xbox showcase, they clearly were not ready to show it. Clearly were not ready to show it. I mean, anyone could see that. You know what I mean? A 10-second walking animation, that doesn't scream that they're close to finishing it. You know, that one I probably expect to see come out in 2027. Stranger Than Heaven looked further along the production line, but again, it's going to be probably a high-quality game as well, so they'll probably need as much time as they need. Doesn't surprise me. So yeah, that came from the Sega Sammy management meeting as well. The other delay, some people will be happy, I think, that this has happened. Trails Beyond the Horizon is delayed till January 2026, and it is now coming to the Switch 2 in addition to the other platforms. So that means it's now coming out on PS4, PS5, Switch, Switch 2 and PC next year, Jan 2026, which is pretty much what I thought was going to happen before it was announced for the first time. I remember when the trailer came up in, what was it, March or April? When that trailer went up and I saw the release date was intended for this year, 2025, the end of 2025, I was thinking, what? Really? With Sky First Chapter coming out? You're going to be doing it in the same year? It made no sense to me. It's kind of reverted back to what I thought it was going to be. It sucks. I am disappointed that it's not coming out this year, but I understand it. And it gives more time for, you know, Trails and the Sky First Chapter to breathe as well. They're not going to cannibalise their sales. It does make sense. I think logic has won out here. The issue is more in regards to the Switch 2 version being a game keycard, which I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of. It's $10 more as well, or the limited edition is $10 more than the Switch version. That's probably due to the Switch upgrade. When it comes to game keycards, I mean, I'm not going to get into the discourse about what other people think about it. I'm only going to give what I think about them. And it's that I am not a fan of them. I'm not a fan of game keycards. I think they're pseudo physicals, something you can hold in your hands but still take up the same amount of space as a digital game, and they harm game preservation. I'm not a fan of them personally, but you know, I think a lot of companies will be going down this route. I think we'll be seeing a lot more game keycards than not. At the end of the day, people just have to vote with their wallets. If they don't want it, they don't want it. And I will not be buying the Switch 2 version of Horizon. I have no reason to buy a Switch 2 at the moment. I don't think I'll be buying it for at least another year until there's some big RPG that comes out on it, something like a new Fire Emblem or a new Monolith soft game. I have no reason to buy a Switch 2 at the moment. So, but if I'm playing digital, then I'll just play on my PC for the most part. There's no reason for me to buy one. So, yeah. Switch 2 version is good, game keycard not so good, but delayed till 2026. Disappointing, but understandable. So, yeah, there you go. Okay, right, finishing up with the actual upcoming releases now. So, there is an action RPG called Sea Fantasy. It's releasing on the Nintendo Switch. It's already on PC as well. That's releasing on June the 19th. Like I said last time, if I don't talk about it too much, it's because I either have no interest in it or I don't know much about it. To be honest, they're probably one and the same thing anyway. If I don't know too much about it, then I'm obviously not interested in it, so, you know, whatever. Moving on, turn-based RPG Nova Heart. It's coming to all platforms except Nintendo Switch 2. It's released this month, June the 22nd. It's like a dating sim. Uses turn-based combat, so turn-based combat, visual novel hybrid. Could be something to check out if you really want to. The SRPG Disgaea 7 Complete is a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive. Releasing fall 2025, it is a game keycard as well. English and Japanese audio, English and French text. It's going to be the base game of Disgaea 7 plus all the DLC. Turn-based RPG Neptunia Rebirth Trilogy, that's coming to PS4 in fall 2025, so We knew that the PS4 versions of this trilogy were going to be coming out. The Switch versions were cancelled, but if you do want a Switch version, 2 weeks ago we mentioned the Asian version, which has English support, so if you want a Switch version, maybe get one of those. But PS4 version of the trilogy, fall 2025, good. Action RPG Eden Zero, coming out on PS5, Xbox Series and PC. The demo is available now. It launches July the 15th. Obviously the same creator as Fairy Tail. I have not watched Eden Zero. I know it's got 2 seasons of 25 seasons each, I believe. I probably will watch it because a few of my friends have said this is actually quite good. They played the demo and they were quite impressed, so I think I might check this one out myself, but that's pretty cool. Turn-based RPG Suikoden Starleap is now also coming to PC in addition to mobile. I guess that makes sense. No release date on that one as of yet. I'm not sure if I'll be playing it, but I'll probably wait for other people to talk about it first before I jump in or not, because again, I'm not too fond on mobile games or mobile games / PC games that, you know, share a platform, because they normally share that gacha elements, which I'm not a fan of. Now we're coming to the last 2, and this first one, a creature collector. It's called Navanosuke the Yokai Buster. It's coming to Nintendo Switch in 2026, but it was initially a GBA game. It never saw a commercial release. It was also the last project done by the old Metal Slug team, and a really cool addition to it is that you could basically use a GPS unit on the GBA and you could basically walk around and find yokai. It was kind of like Pokemon Go before Pokemon Go. Really cool idea, but now it looks like Kohachi Studio, who actually have some of that old team of the old Metal Slug team, are going to be taking on the project. It's going to have English and Japanese support, and it's basically set in ancient Japan. You play as a guy called Navanosuke, obviously, who is a young onmyoji in training, meeting and battling over 150 unique yokai. It's going to use like a turn-based battle system and a kind of shikigami system. I don't know what that's all about. And it's a Japanese fantasy world and all this kind of stuff. Looks good. This idea that, you know, the old Metal Slug team basically worked on a final project that never released, and now it's coming out over 20 years later. Cool. You know, I'm kind of looking forward to this one. I think it looks pretty cool. It's always nice to see old projects like this that were seemingly forgotten forever come back to the fore. So hopefully that comes out good. Like I say, 2026 Nintendo Switch only at present. It might even come to other platforms. And then finally, turn-based RPG Atelier Resliana, the Red Alchemist and the White Guardian. That is going to be coming to PS5, Nintendo Switch and PC on the 26th of September. And they released a gameplay trailer, or a first look at the gameplay of Atelier Resliana. I'm going to call it Atelier Resliana now. I'm not going to say that entire title. Just know that when I say Resliana, I'm talking about this game and not the gacha, which I've made very clear I'm not a fan of. So Resliana, they showed the gameplay off. And this is the one that looks like it's going to be more traditional than Yumiya. Yumiya was the one that attempted to appeal to the global audiences. Resliana is going to be the one that attempts to appeal to Atelier fans. And I'll be honest, I like it. I like the look of it so far. It looks, indeed, it's going down that traditional route. So, more focus on the characters, more focus on the crafting. It looks like there's going to be a town management system. So there's a shop management system and then a town management system as well. This is not unheard of to have a town management system in an Atelier game. Nelk had it as a spin-off, but you also had it in Meru as well, the third Ireland game. Was it the third Ireland game? Yes, the third Ireland game. So this is not unheard of. And the idea is that as you renovate the town, you advance the story, you get new recipes. The alchemy system I need to see a little bit more of, because it seems to be using this gift colour system, which was in the original Resliana. And colours and me, not a good match, because I'm partially colourblind. So I hope that the colours are just primary colours, because if it's stuff like purple and dark blue, I can't tell the difference. I had the same problem with Atelier Sophie, so I hope that's not going to take away from the enjoyment of the game. Apparently they want it to be a simple approach to alchemy, but there's probably going to be elements of depth to that too. And in terms of the characters that are going to be in it, because obviously the original Resliana brought in a lot of older legacy characters from across the series, this game is going to be doing just that. So you have 2 original characters, the 2 protagonists, which is Rias and Slade. Rias is like the cat-eared girl, Slade is the red-haired dude that looks like Adol Kristin, and then you've got the 4 legacy characters who are joining them. So you've got Mirabelle from the Dusk games, you've got Sophie from the Mysterious games, you've got Tori from the Ireland games, and this one surprised me, Raze from Manakemia 2. Okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, you needed a bit more male representation, I guess. But yeah, Raze is in there, so that's pretty cool too. It remains to be seen how much of an influence they actually have in the story, but whatever, we'll see. There's also going to be this idea of random dungeons, so you explore random dungeons and it changes depending on the time of day, so that's going to change the enemies that appear, the materials that appear in the dungeon and all this kind of stuff. Material quality is going to depend on the difficulty of the dungeon that you choose beforehand. That remains to be seen as well. I'm not so big on random dungeons, but I guess I'll like to see it in action before I pass judgment. And the turn-based system looks really cool as well. I'm liking the look of this one, I am, and I think there's a very good chance that I'll like this one more than I did Yumiya, which again, nothing against Yumiya, but I just like the traditional approach of Atelier, and looks like this one's going down that level. So if you want the retailer bonuses as well, so obviously limited editions have gone up for the game in Japan at the very least, there are retailer bonuses for Resliana available on the website, on the Gust's Japanese website. And if you go onto the Gust shop has a bunch of editions, like so many different editions, and the best one, or the best one, is called like the Saikyo Galaxy set, or something like that. So basically it comes with the Gust version and then like all these extra goodies that come as part of the Galaxy set or something like that, and it's 50,000 yen. It's a lot of money. It's about 250 quid. But yeah, I'm liking the look of this game. I am. And I'm very much looking forward to it. But yeah, that is it. Long video, lots to talk about, but that's it. We're done. You know, this is the new structure, this is what I want to do, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well, and I hope it gave you a little bit of an inkling as to what happened this month. So yeah, I'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the first part of the July news roundup, guys. Take it easy. Peace. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe for more JRPG content, and consider joining my Patreon if you're interested. Peace.